almost like a sad moment for me when I find out, because it's like, is everyone who's got a ward just paid for it? Is that where we're at?
A lot of businesses are just a product of bad advice. They've had bad advice. They've been advised the wrong thing from other companies.
It's almost like what you see on social media, what you see people pushing. I think 2026 is going to be the year of the specialist, right?
Okay.
It's not going to be the year of the generalist. It's not going to be someone who offers every single laser treatment, every single skin booster, every single dermal filler, every single chemical peel, right?
I want to get your opinion on something. How often do you get walk-ins? Is that a thing? Like, do you get a lot of walk-ins? Do they convert?
I don't like walk-ins. So on my on the panel of my door, it says online bookings only. You don't want to be having patients that do this spontaneously. I want patients to really weigh up the pros and cons of having this treatment. So when they do decide to go ahead, they have the full complete picture. They've had enough time to weigh up the pros and cons. It's so interesting because a lot of my clients from my home clinic, they've been with me throughout the whole journey, and they're almost like so happy for me that I've kind of moved into this space. And
love that.
They usually say to me like, look, you can practice anywhere. I'm still coming to you. If you move to a shed next week, like, we'll come to that shed. As long as it's clean, as long as it's safe, like, we'll come to that shed.
Haroon, welcome back to the HW studio.
Thank you for having me again. It's been nice. It's been a few years, hasn't it?
It has. The last podcast we done, what a conversation. Yeah. Great conversation. People still listen to that now and ask me questions about that conversation. I think it had a really impactful kind of message to anyone in the industry. Lots has changed since you last came on. Yeah. Tell me about that. What's different?
I think from a business point of view, as you know, I opened my own clinic in Reigate. So when we were having that conversation a few years ago, I was practicing out of a dedicated space in my house, which sounds fancy, but it was a bedroom in my house that I made look nice, and it looked professional, but it was a bedroom in my house. And we grew the business from there for years. And it got to the point where the results weren't matching the environment. So we had to look at a place somewhere on the high street, and we found a spot in Reigate. We renovated it, which was a journey in and of itself, which I'm sure we'll speak about. And yeah, that's where we've been for the last 7 or 8 months from a business point of view.
It's fantastic what you achieved from a home clinic. So the numbers you were doing from a home clinic were high. Like higher than some people with a physical location. So I think some people assume there's a ceiling with having a home clinic when it can still be quite successful, right?
Yeah.
Like how long did you have the home clinic, and what type of numbers were you doing?
Yeah, so I was doing it quite ad hoc when I first started. So I've been in aesthetics for 7.5 years now. So when I first started, it was quite ad hoc here and there. I rented a space in a local salon, and I was working at other people's practices. And then I would say maybe about 4 years ago, I started to take the home clinic quite seriously. I renovated a specific room, and I was like, okay, I need to grow my own clientele rather than simply working in someone else's clinic. And then that's actually when we started working together on a professional basis. That's when you started running the ads for me. And then month on month, it got busier and busier and busier and busier. And the cool thing with aesthetics is if you provide someone with a really good service and a really good result, they are likely to come back to you. So it's almost like this exponential curve that you see. I mean, I'm more than happy to talk about figures, but we managed to build it up to, revenue, probably about 25 to 30K a month on a consistent basis. The people in my house were a little bit annoyed. It basically became a full-time clinic in my house. And yeah, it kind of got to the point where it's like, okay, we're doing really well. Now it's time to have a specific location or a clinic on the street somewhere.
The new location that you've got in Reigate, Surrey, beautiful area, great area for it. It looks amazing. Like how you've done the interior is great. Like why Reigate? Why did you pick Reigate? And do you think location selection's important to scale a premium clinic?
Yeah, we spoke about this yesterday, but Reigate just happened to be really close to my house, so that was one of the reasons. But I can retrospectively make it sound like I've done something really intelligent. But the truth is I'm born and raised in and around the Red Hill area. I went to college in Reigate. Reigate happens to be quite an affluent area.
It's a lovely area.
It's a lovely area. And there's loads of working professionals in there. And there's loads of business owners in and around Reigate as well. And people are not only health conscious, but also conscious about the way that they look as well. And the honest truth is, I think that's a global phenomenon. It's not just Reigate that is unique to that. I think people are taking their fitness and their health and their appearances more seriously. I think the reason why Reigate is nice is because it is slightly more affluent than neighboring areas. And, you know, with aesthetic treatments, they're not cheap. They require money. And in order to get the best results, there is a kind of price tag associated with it. So I think Reigate worked out really well because of that. I was even considering going into London, but having worked in London in the past, I don't want to travel to London on a daily basis. I only travel to London to train. That's because I love training. But I would not want to go into London for any other reason, work related. I love London, but going there every day in the morning at 8 a.m. on the tube, it's not fun. So
Oh, absolutely not. No.
that I can drive to, even walk to if I want to.
Yeah, I think for those who might live in zones 3, 4, like getting to Central's okay. Yeah. Where you're located geographically, just for the viewers, for some context, it's kind of London, but it's not. It's like Surrey, just outside.
Yeah.
So I mean, how long's the journey to London for you? About an hour, 45 minutes?
You know, sometimes less than that. It's not actually that bad. Driving, 3 hours. But if you want to get the train, Redhill to central London is about 40 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not awful. But then if you are going to Harley Street, if you're going to Marylebone to do a clinic, you know, it's probably another 20 minutes on the underground. Which, if I can afford the underground, I will do my best to. But, you know, what you were saying is it important that, like location, how important is location? I think it is fairly important, but I don't think it's make or break. I think there's a demand for aesthetics everywhere. There's some people that I work with that, you know, live in tiny little villages where the population is like 20,000 and they still do all right for themselves. It is, there is more opportunity in bigger cities though. So if I was purely thinking about how do I maximize the amount of revenue, it probably wouldn't even be Reigate. If I really wanted to maximize revenue, you would go to a bigger city like London. There's more competition, but there's significantly more people as well. So if there's someone that's, you know, on the fence, do I go to somewhere where it's like a rural area, not that much a population, or do I go to somewhere as a bigger city and more people and there's a little bit more money flowing around? You should probably make that decision. For me, it was a big balancing act of, okay, you know, I've got a young family and I want to be fairly close to them, and I wouldn't mind if they came to work every so often. And if I've got an hour off, I can go home really quickly. So yeah, there was a few things that we wanted to kind of make sure that we were hitting from a kind of professional and life point of view. But yeah, Reigate just happened to be perfect. It worked out perfect.
Let's talk about the growth since you got the physical location.
Yeah.
So you went from a home clinic doing great numbers, achieving great results for your clients. Yeah. You now have a physical location on a high street in an affluent area in Surrey. What kind of impact has that had on your growth?
Financially, and even the number of clients that we get through the door, significant. So we went from, 25 to 30K, almost the first month, not the first month, but almost the first month that we opened, to 40 to 45K.
Wow.
On a fairly consistent basis. Now, we did pump a lot of money into advertising to make sure that the launch was impactful. I thought that there was going to be a dip afterwards. I thought it would be really popular and then it will stabilize after that, but it hasn't. It's kind of been fairly steady and it's actually growing even after that. And it's quite cool to see what you can do as a sole practitioner, because there's no one else doing anything. It's just me doing these treatments, and I didn't know it was possible to hit those numbers as a single practitioner. Now, I think there is going to be a point where it's like, okay, I can't see any more patients. Let's bring someone else in. But I feel like I'm only like 60% of the way there. I feel like I still want to do more individually before I start kind of delegating the work off to someone else.
That's so interesting. Yeah, that's such an interesting concept. I feel like people have invisible ceilings in their mind. I think for viewers listening to this, you've really helped kind of debunk what's possible from having a home clinic, firstly. Maybe having a physical location isn't always the best play for everybody, right? But let's talk about the physical location, the clinic, the shop front. How often do you get walk-ins? Is that a thing? Like, do you get a lot of walk-ins? Do they convert?
I don't like walk-ins. So on the panel of my door, it says online bookings only. And there's a few different reasons for that. The main reason is I don't want someone to come and have a treatment spontaneously. Right? I don't want someone to walk in and be like, oh, I just saw a lip filler sign. These guys do lip filler. Let me go get lip filler. Because it is a medical procedure. And just to take it to the extreme, imagine if you walk past a breast surgery clinic. And you think, oh, you know what? I'm going to get breast surgery today. And you walk in and have breast surgery on the same day.
I left with A cups and going home with double Ds.
Yeah, exactly. Spontaneous, right? So I know it's not to that extent, but these are still medical procedures. They are still, you know, cosmetic in nature. You don't want to be having patients that do this spontaneously. I want patients to really weigh up the pros and cons of having this treatment. So when they do decide to go ahead, they have the full, complete picture. They've had enough time to weigh up the pros and cons.
Yeah.
We do get walk-ins for inquiries, and we quickly say, look, that's fine. Like, I'm more than happy to answer a few questions, or you know, if you want a price list or something like that, but you have to book online, or, you know, there has to be a booking in the future. We can book you in, but you can't walk in and get the treatment then and there.
I want to get your opinion on something. So a lot of clinics focus on new client, but I think that's wrong. I think people should focus more on retention, and LTV, lifetime value, right? What would you say is the typical lifetime value for your average aesthetic client? Like, what could that be?
Yeah. So I've only been doing it for 7 years, right? So I can't, from my own experience, say this is the lifetime value of a client. But let's just say there's an average client who gets Botox 2 to 3 times a year. So that's probably maybe £700, £800 they're spending just on the Botox. And then once a year, they'll get a few fillers. So they might end up spending £1,000 on fillers. And then here and there, they'll trickle in some skin boosters. So even just from an annual basis, like your average aesthetic client who gets a bit of Botox, a little bit of filler here and there, and some skin boosters, they're probably spending, you know, close to £2,000, maybe a little bit less, but yeah, close to £2,000 a year on these treatments. And stretch that over 10 years, that's £20,000 just in 10 years. So if we're thinking lifetime value, you know, it's you know, dare I say, like £100,000, right? If they stick with you for that long. But certainly on an annual basis, like the average client, a good client will end up spending, maybe £1,500 to £2,000 a year.
And how do you retain? Because a lot of, not all clinics, I mean, some clinics are great at retaining, but there's so much competition, isn't there? It's a very saturated space. So how have you been able to achieve such a great lifetime value for your clinic, of your clients?
It's so interesting because a lot of my clients from my home clinic, they've been with me throughout the whole journey, and they're almost like so happy for me that I've kind of moved into this space. And
love that.
They usually say to me, like, look, you can practice anywhere. I'm still coming to you. If you move to a shed next week, like, we'll come to that shed. As long as it's clean, as long as it's safe, like, we'll come to that shed.
Loyalty,
right? And I think it all comes down to providing a good service, being honest, but the most important thing, being excellent at your job. I think that's the most important thing. What is our job? Our job is to make people look better, just to be frank. As blunt as it sounds, that's our job, right? We want people to look better. We don't want people to look weird. So I usually say to my clients, my job is to make you look as good as you possibly can, but the results are undetectable. No one can tell that you've had work done. And I think that philosophy kind of has carried me through over the last few years, because it's very easy to give impactful results when someone looks unnatural. Put 4 mils in someone's lip, that's impactful. It looks ridiculous though. And at the same time, if you put 0.1 mLs in someone's lip, it's subtle, it's undetectable, but it's almost like, what was the point in doing that? It's so subtle that there was no point in doing that. And I see a lot of practitioners do that as well, where it's like, look at these subtle results, and it's almost like there are no results, right? It's finding that balance of, okay, I need to be good enough to deliver really impactful results, but undetectable. If someone was to meet you for the first time, they would never know you've had cosmetic treatments done. They would look at you and say, you just look really well rested, or you look beautiful, you look very proportional, whatever you want to say, right? Just being really good at your job, being honest with patients, I think that's important. All of these treatments have limitations. There's limitations to Botox, there's limitations to filler, there's limitations to surgery as well. So it's just being honest with your patients. This isn't Photoshop. I can't just do what I want, right? So there is a limit to how much filler we can place in your lips. There's a limit to how straight we can get your nose. There's a limit to how much we can soften those lines. And I think it's being honest with the patient, but also trying to push for the best result as well for your patient. So they're probably the two things. Be good at your job, be honest with your patients. I'll give you an example, right? If you go to a restaurant and the service is crap, right? Delayed, you know, it's loud, the environment's not amazing, but the food is 10 out of 10, right? There's a good chance that you'll go back there purely because the food is amazing. And vice versa, if you've got somewhere where it's beautiful, stunning, really like aesthetically pleasing, service is amazing, but the food tastes rubbish or it's cold, then people aren't going to go back. It doesn't matter how good the decor was, right? So that is the product. The food is the reason that you go to the restaurant. And the product for us is the results. So it doesn't matter what else you're doing. If your results are crap, then it doesn't matter how many followers you have on Instagram, right? It doesn't matter how many awards you've won, right? It only matters, the results are the only thing that matters to the patient. Obviously, there's the how ethical you are, price point, how you conduct a consultation, all of these things. But the most important thing is the results.
No, that's totally valid. I'd love to get your take as well on, like, in terms of your people skills. You're a great communicator. Yeah. For the viewers who might not know, you obviously went to uni, you became a doctor, but there was a gap year you had where you worked in sales at the same company as me. And this was, how long ago was this? 12 years? Probably about 12 years ago.
When you say that.
Over a decade ago.
Is nuts.
And you were really good on the phones. Like, me and the other boys in the office were like, at first we weren't sure how you were going to be. Like, okay, uni, studying to be a doctor, but you're in sales. You don't really see that. Like, usually people fall into sales when they don't really have anything else to do. Yeah. But you were great. Like, you had that natural way with people. So how impactful do you think that part of your earlier stage of your life has had on building your business in aesthetics? Do you think there's a correlation there?
I think communication in general is super important, right? I think if there's one skill in life that you really want to master, is communication. People talk to people, people buy from people. So, I mean, even in uni, I mean, the areas that I would excel at in medicine were the areas of communication. I wasn't the most studious person. I can't recall all the bones in the human body or all the nerves in the cranium, right? Whereas when it comes to communicating to a patient, relaying information to them in a way that they can understand, that was something that I understood a little bit better, and I felt like I excelled at that. Yeah. So with sales, it is a completely different ballgame, and for me, there was like a learning curve. I was looking up to you guys when I first came, right? You guys had a bit more experience than me, so it's understanding how you can be persuasive, but not in a manipulative way. And the way that I describe it in aesthetics is you are consulting the patient and you are their guide. You're guiding them through the journey and you're helping them make the best decisions. They're not coming in and you're not saying, do this, do that, do this. You're asking them, these are your concerns. These are the options available. This is the one that is probably the most effective, but these are the options available. These are the pros and cons of this one. These are the pros and cons of that one. This is how long this will last. And you're just guiding them through the process. And a lot of the time they are looking at you saying, what one should I do then? And you can help them with that, but it's more of a consultative approach rather than, oh, you should get this, you should get that, you need this. Because at the end of the day, no one needs any of these treatments, right? No one needs a Ferrari, no one needs Louboutins, no one needs dermal filler. But if they want it, our job is to guide them through it and help them make the best decision.
Talking about clients, your clients specifically, what treatments do you offer for your clients that, in your opinion, offer the most impactful result? So example, scenario, somebody comes to you, they're in their 30s, they've got really dark under eyes, even if they're sleeping for 12 hours a night, drinking water, going to the gym. What would you advise them? Like, what's a really impactful treatment?
I think just as a practitioner, diagnosis is super important. So in talking about the under eye area, people have pigmentation, people have loose skin, people have fine lines and wrinkles, people have hollowing, and people have puffiness. What is causing that dark circle? Is it pigmentation? Is it puffiness? Is it a hollow that's catching a shadow? So the diagnosis is the most important thing. Once you've got the diagnosis, then you deliver the correct treatment after that. For puffy and hollow under eyes, there is nothing that's going to beat dermal filler. Dermal filler, as long as it's done well, is predictable, it's safe, it lasts 1 to 2 years. The drawback with filler is it has to be done correctly. So it is more impactful, but it requires more from the practitioner. Not any Tom, Dick and Harry can do these under eye filler, and most fillers in the face, to be honest. Whereas if the main concern is pigmentation and we need to brighten the skin, then we can lean towards skin boosters. We can lean towards polynucleotides. The drawback of polynucleotides is they're slow, they're subtle, they require multiple sessions, and they're not cheap either. So if you lay it out to a patient like that, just going back to like, how do you kind of maximize patient retention and how do you maximize patient satisfaction? If you lay it out to a patient like that, they can choose what is the best approach for them. Whereas I think what happens with a lot of practitioners is they advise the treatments that they are comfortable in delivering. I'm not comfortable in delivering tear trough filler, but I offer polynucleotides, so everyone's going to get polynucleotides. You're going to have some people that are happy, you're going to get some people that get good results, you're going to get some people that are pissed off that they spent £800 and they can't see any difference. So I think that's like really important.
Do you think polynucleotides are a trend, or do you reckon they're here to stay?
I think they're here to stay because there is some good science behind them. I think they're overrated. I think a lot of people do them for the wrong reasons. And I think there's a lot of patients that are unhappy with the results from polynucleotides. Just for the people that are watching, polynucleotides are essentially DNA extract taken from salmon, trout, salmon sperm, facial, right? The DNA matches our DNA really closely. They distill it into a gel, and then we inject it into areas that we want to improve the quality of the skin. It is a good skin booster, but that's the extent of the benefit of polynucleotides. It can only improve the quality of your skin. It can't do anything more than that. So if someone's got deep lines, if someone's got a hollow somewhere, if someone's got structural issues, polynucleotides is going to do nothing for that, even if you have 1,000 sessions, because it can only improve the quality of your skin. So, for example, with the under eye area, if someone's got a hollow and a little bit of pigmentation, do I get them to spend £1,000 on a course of polynucleotides where it's going to improve the colour slightly, or do I go in with a £400 to £500 treatment and improve the hollow, which is going to give them 80% of the benefit immediately? I'm going to go for that one, but a lot of practitioners don't, because they feel like they're not skilled enough to do the under eye filler. But they're never going to say that. They're never going to say, I am not good enough to do tear trough filler, or I'm not good enough to do nose filler. It's a bad treatment. Don't do that. Do this treatment that I offer. It's better, right? And then patients get kind of almost like
blindsided into doing it.
Yeah, and honestly, dozens and dozens and dozens of patients have come to me saying that, oh, I tried that polynucleotide thing. I haven't seen much of a difference. You know, I spent £1,000 on it. Now I'm here for filler because I think it's the right option. But they've already wasted £1,000. I'm their best friend afterwards because I've done a treatment, given them exactly what they wanted. Their satisfaction is up here. But yeah, I think it's important to be honest with patients and advise them treatments that are going to benefit them the most.
Yeah. Do you know something interesting? So, as you know, I've been in this industry since 2019 as a marketing / growth partner company. One of the biggest, I'd say, bottlenecks for practitioners, I usually hear from potential clients or clients is, the market's really saturated. I'm seeing that actually slowly change. So, for example, I mean, I don't think I'm allowed to legally say names, but there's a couple of huge franchises last year that closed their doors. I'm sure you probably have heard of a couple too. Lots of we've got a database of 15,000 practitioners. Sometimes I'll send out a blast asking who needs help. I mean, every single time I probably have about 20 or 30 messages come back. Hey, I'm not in the industry anymore. Hey, I've moved to Dubai. Hey, I'm not in the UK anymore. Hey, I've gone into finance. So I think from where there's regulations that are slowly coming in now, there was an announcement in Scotland the day before yesterday. There's a lot of fear in the market. Less people are looking to be involved in it. People who are involved in it in a sort of 1 foot in, 1 foot out situation are retracting. So I think, my anticipation for the industry is this time 5 years from today, I don't think saturation is going to be as much of an issue. It's always going to be a saturated industry, but I think gone will be the days where you've got cleaners that are doing Botox for 50 quid.
I hope so, man. I'm praying for that day.
It's genuinely a thing, by the way. I've had a cleaner that does Botox for 50 quid. I didn't get any. I've got my stuff from you. So yeah, that's what I think. What's your experience with the saturation though? Has it kind of stunted your growth?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I've got a bit of a different take on it than most people. I think 2026 is going to be the year of the specialist, right? Okay. It's not going to be the year of the generalist. It's not going to be someone who offers every single laser treatment, every single skin booster, every single dermal filler, every single chemical peel, right? There's going to be people that really niche down on what they're good at, and they're going to specialize in those specific areas, and they're the ones that are going to do well. So the way that I think of saturation in the aesthetic industry is the more experienced you get, the less saturated it becomes. So at the bottom, when you first start your training, you can do 3 areas of Botox, you can maybe do a bit of cheek filler, you can do maybe a bit of lip filler. Everyone can do that. Okay, everyone does that at an okay level. So everyone at the lowest level of the pyramid is competing with the same patients. If all you can offer are skin boosters and very basic filler, it's going to feel saturated, because what separates you from the person down the road who's offering the same stuff? Then as time goes on, you might build up your skill set. Then you might start adding nose filler, tear trough filler. You start doing multiple dermal filler packages where it gives them more of an impactful result. Then that becomes less saturated for you, because you're someone who doesn't do what everyone is doing. You've separated yourself a little bit. So it feels less saturated. Then you become more experienced. Now you're doing full face treatments, you're doing packages, you're doing, artistic work on people's faces. And at that point, there's basically no competition. It doesn't feel saturated because there's almost no one that's doing that. So if you think about the people that do full face treatment packages, I can probably count on two hands the amount of people that I know. Okay, maybe hands and toes of the people that I know that do really high-end full face dermal filler treatment packages, where it's very artistic, it's impactful, it's almost a life-changing result in maybe in an hour, maybe 2 hours it takes them to do that. There's not many people that are doing that. So if you can find yourself at that level in aesthetics, it will never feel saturated for you. And the silly example that I give is, if there's 10 barbers on the street, everyone just goes to the best one, right? Everyone just goes to the best one because they're known to be the best. So if you're the best in your area, everyone's going to naturally gravitate towards you.
Yeah.
It's like saying to a kid, oh, don't do that football thing, it's saturated. Everyone's played football. Don't play football, it's saturated. Tell Ronaldo that. Tell Messi that. These people have, become experts in their industry. The better you become, the less saturated it will feel.
Damn, yeah, for sure. It reminds me of the saying, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
100%.
You are right. My industry's saturated. We're doing well.
You're doing good because you're good at your job. That's right. And you're honest.
Yes, 100%. And naturally in marketing, you don't get results for 100% of your clients, right? You show me a marketing company that says it's got 100% success rates for its clients, it's been in the industry for half a decade, I'll show you someone who's lying.
Yeah.
But I think it's just important to, any marketers that might be listening to this, only actually bring on a client if you genuinely feel like you can get them results.
Yeah.
Success leaves tracks. Like, if I'm bringing on a clinic who has 100 plus reviews, mostly 5-star, they already have somewhat of a presence, they're good at what they do, and they have a growth mindset, and they understand business. That's a huge thing. They need to understand business, because people assume if you invest in ads that's just going to solve all of your problems. But if you've already got holes in your ship, then marketing is just going to make those holes even bigger. Because you can't sell, you can't upsell, you can't cross-sell, you can't deliver. Don't invest in marketing. So the key is you have to be selective, and this is why we get such good results now. If someone inquires at my company and I think there's even a slight chance it won't work, I'm not signing you. It's not worth it. It's bad for the brand. Whereas most agencies, unfortunately, are so sales focused, and I could imagine it's quite similar to a lot of aesthetic clinics, are so new client, new client, new client. Someone gave me an analogy of a sausage factory. Loads of sausages going by. Some sausages taste all right, the other ones don't.
Yeah.
You need to sign clients who you can get results for.
Yeah.
LTV.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? That's the key to growth.
It's so interesting that there's so many parallels with what you do and what we do. So
Massively, yeah.
I say in aesthetics, as a practitioner, you have to be able to say no to your patients. If a patient comes in, they've got too much lip filler and they're asking me for more lip filler, I need to say no to them. Ethically, but also for my own brand, like from a selfish point of view. If I do their lips, make them look even bigger, what's she going to do? She's going to walk around and say, Dr. Haroon did these lips for me, right? She's not going to say, oh, I've had 4 meals previous to me seeing Dr. Haroon. Dr. Haroon did my lips, and she's walking around. People are going to look at her and say, oh, I don't want that result, for example. So I need to have a difficult conversation with her and say, look, this is actually not the right option. I'm going to be taking your money and I'm going to be making you look worse. That's the easy thing to do. The difficult thing is to actually say, no, we're not actually a good... If you want me to do something, it might be sensible to reverse everything, and then we can start from scratch. And in your kind of industry, rather than taking someone's money and knowing it's not going to work, you're actually saying, no, it's okay.
A lot of businesses are just a product of bad advice. They've had bad advice. They've been advised the wrong thing from other companies. I could imagine exactly what you just said about polynucleotides. I spent $1,000 on polynucleotides and I still look the same. I get people come to me, oh, I spent $1,000 on ads and I didn't get a single client. Well, that's because you don't have a foundation, you don't have a brand, you don't have reviews. This is what you actually need, and it's not sexy. You're not going to get any results for 3 months because you need to build a content system. You need reviews. You need all of this stuff in place, and then you'll be ready to start running paid ads. If my industry was just honest about that, then marketers wouldn't have such a bad reputation, which makes life very difficult for good companies. Do you know what I mean?
So interesting, because it's almost like what you see on social media, what you see people pushing. One, it's usually not correct. It's usually overhyped. And the people that do suffer are the people that are reaching out for these services. I mean, we're talking about polynucleotides. There's so much hype behind them, you know. And when they first came out, I'm always dubious about new treatments anyway. I always take a bit of a step back and I look, is this actually worth it? Is it just a hype train? Is it something that's going to be here today and gone tomorrow? And then you would see these practitioners come out saying how it's game-changing, life-changing. It's the best treatment that's ever existed.
Yeah.
And I always get a bit suspicious when practitioners are saying things and patients aren't saying it. If a patient says a treatment's life-changing, it's like, okay, I'll take your word for it, right? But if a practitioner is saying that, but the patients that I'm speaking to are saying the opposite, I mean, they're not saying I got botched or anything like that, but they're saying I could barely see a difference. It wasn't much of a result. And the practitioner just kept telling me to get more and more treatments, and I kept sending more and more money, and I still couldn't see a result. But then there's practitioners saying it's life-changing, it's game-changing. And you almost go down the rabbit hole of why is this? And that's what I did. Why are people pushing polynucleotides? And it always comes from the pharmaceutical companies, right? Pharmaceutical companies advise practitioners. Practitioners go and, push these treatments. And I was thinking, why are they pushing a treatment which is quite subtle? It takes weeks to months for people to see results. Even when they see results, it's really subtle. And you need multiple sessions. Whereas you compare it with dermal filler, it's an immediate result. It's impactful. It will last 1 to 2 years. And you can do significantly more with dermal filler than you can with polynucleotides. And when you think about it from the shoes of a pharmaceutical executive who's trying to make sales, polynucleotides makes more money than dermal fillers. Reason being is almost everyone can do polynucleotides. You don't need an advanced skill set to do polynucleotides. It's impossible to botch someone with polynucleotides. It's just a sequence of injections over the face, in the skin, somewhat strategically placed, but even if it's not strategically placed, it doesn't matter. It's the product that's doing the work. Whereas with dermal filler, you need advanced understanding of anatomy, facial proportions, beauty. You need good technical skills with your hand as well. So you need to have years of experience in order to deliver dermal filler treatments well. And if you don't do it correctly, you're going to start botching people. So if I'm a pharmaceutical executive, would I be selling a treatment that is really difficult to do, that takes years and years of experience, and it can go wrong, but it's significantly more impactful and it lasts for years as well? Or do I do a treatment that anyone in the aesthetic space can do, minimal training, someone who's been doing it for 3 months versus someone who's been doing it for 2 years? They are as good as each other when it comes to polynuclears or any skin booster. Am I going to choose that? Multiple sessions, repeat courses, can't go wrong, can't botch someone. You're going to go with that. That's going to make more money. But from a patient point of view, it's not always the right answer. And it's usually not the right answer. The way that I use skin boosters is icing on the cake. 80 to 90% of the benefit is from correctly done dermal filler and Botox treatments. That 10 to 20% is improvement in the quality of the skin. Interesting, eh?
It's very interesting. Yeah. I think it's going to ruffle some feathers when we put this out, just regarding polynucleotides. But, you're a medical professional. You've been in the industry for nearly a decade. Yeah.
Yeah, we offer them, by the way. Yeah. We offer them. I do them frequently, but I'm honest.
I don't think many people will be buying them after this, mate.
Yeah, that's it. So I'll remove it from the menu now. No, I think it's a good treatment. Yeah. It is only for the quality of your skin. So if someone comes to me and says, I don't care about proportions, I don't care about the signs of aging, I don't care about the volume loss, the only thing I want to do is improve the quality of my skin. No problem, we'll do it. And we do a decent amount. Yeah. Patients appreciate it.
Honesty, 100%.
It's slow, it's expensive, it's going to take weeks to months for you to see results. Yeah. You're going to see them, but it's going to be subtle.
For sure. Can I ask you something about Botox?
She can.
I hear mixed things about Botox. So a lot of people, I'm seeing, would you agree that the aesthetics industry is maturing in the sense of people want much more of a natural look now, I feel? Yes. With the clinics that we work with, we're noticing a lot of revenues being made and a lot of amazing results for our clients are being created through more natural skin treatments. Botox and negative effects. Tell me about that. Is it true that if you actually have Botox, it ages you more?
Yeah, great question. I'll give you the simple answer and then I'll put some meat on the bones for you. As long as it's done correctly, as long as you're using appropriate doses, as long as you're having appropriate gaps in between each Botox treatment, it will only be beneficial for you in the future. Only be beneficial. And if you think about what Botox is doing, it's relaxing the muscles of expression. Usually you can use it in other areas, but frown, forehead, around the eyes. It's relaxing, partially relaxing the muscles of expression. Therefore, it's crumpling the skin up less. So if you're frowning like that, you're crumpling the skin. If I do that 10,000 times in the next year, that crease is going to etch itself into the skin. If I get Botox, the underlying muscle is relaxed, it doesn't crumple up as much in that 3 to 5 month period. Now, you stretch that over 20 years, 30 years, and we're fortunate enough to have data going back 30 years. Cosmetically, it's been used for about 32, 34 years. Non-cosmetically, so medical uses, it goes back 50 to 60 years. Botox is around for ages. So we have at least 30 plus years of data cosmetically. And as long as it's done correctly, appropriately, it will only have benefits in the future. Now, the problem is when you don't do it correctly, you overdose the areas and you don't have adequate gaps in between. So I'll just tell you the common mistake that some people make is they get Botox done too frequently. So they'll get it done every 2 to 3 months. The problem with hitting your muscles that frequently is that it starts to atrophy the muscle, which basically means the muscle starts to shrink. The muscle has some partial, but some volumizing capability as well. So if I keep getting Botox done in my forehead every 2 to 3 months, there's going to be a period where the muscle starts to shrink, and that is going to give volume deficit in that area, and it's not going to look ideal in 10 years. It's quite hard to do though. If you have Botox every 4 months or even every 3 months, I prefer every 4 months, over a period of 10 to 20 years, there is only going to be beneficial results in the future.
If you have it, say, for example, every 6 months, it's still good?
Beautiful, yeah.
Even better, would you say?
From a cost-effective point of view, yes. So for example, if you've got someone that has Botox done 4 times a year versus 2 times a year, in 10 years' time, the results are going to be almost the same. If let's say Botox lasts 4 months for you, and you get it done twice a year, you've had 8 months of that year where you haven't been able to crumple up the muscles. So you've aged. This is me, obviously aging is a lot more complicated than this, but just to simplify it, those areas haven't aged 8 months out of the year. So in 10 years time, you're still going to look significantly better than if you didn't have any Botox.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Yeah, because there's a camp at the minute, and I'm always skeptical, but it says Botox actually is going to make you look worse and it's really bad for you. But it's only if you abuse it or you don't get it done correctly. Is that right?
That is true. And just to be frank, right, like I would struggle to do treatments on my patients if I knew it was going to make them look worse in the future. I do these treatments on a lot of my family members. So I would not be doing treatments on them, which long term is going to make them look worse. I do these treatments on my mum fairly frequently. So I would not be doing treatments that are going to be harmful to her or long term that are going to make her look worse. Now, if you do it incorrectly, then you might make someone look worse in the future. If you put too much filler in someone's cheeks, then in the future you might end up making them look worse. But these are people that are grossly overfilled. They've had 10 mils in their cheeks over the period of 5 years and their cheeks are out here. Yes, you've caused an abnormal stretch to the skin and you're going to make their skin look worse. But as long as it's done appropriately, dermal fillers and Botox, by the way, appropriate volumes, correct technique, quality products, you are going to only make people look better in the future.
Let's talk about new clinics and clinics who are in the growing stage, or maybe they're already established.
Yeah.
We were talking off camera about the award industry, right? And we're not going to say any names or anything because there's so many across the world. a lot of the time when you see awards in someone's bio, like award winner or a finalist, like you think, wow, that's cool. And like, especially when I was first in business, I was like, I'd love to have an award.
Yeah,
sounds great. I want awards. Who doesn't? But then you learn about the awards, don't you? And you understand how the economy of awards work.
Yeah,
it's all just a big scam.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
It's a huge scam, right?
Yeah.
Like, if any viewers listening, if anyone has an award, the likelihood is they've actually paid for that award. They've sponsored the event where the award's been given to them, or the person who owns the event is their best mate.
Yeah.
And it's the same for PR. It's the same if you're in Vogue magazine. It's the same if you're in the Financial Times. They haven't reported you because you're great. They've reported you because you paid them 10 grand to have a front page publication.
Yeah.
Some would say the game's the game. The game is the game, right? But I mean, what's your take on the award side of things?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a unique journey with this as well. So I think with most aesthetic practitioners, when they start off, one of the things that they see is, oh, that person's in Forbes, that person's in Vogue, that person's got 5 awards. I want that to be me. When I have a clinic, I want, for me to be the best aesthetic practitioner in the UK, or I want to have the best cosmetic result of that year. And then, when you look into it, you see certain people that are winning awards where you raise an eyebrow at it and you're like, oh, okay, that's interesting why they won that and this person didn't win that, or this person won the best training academy when it's probably not the best training academy, or this person won the best aesthetic practitioner when, personally, better aesthetic practitioners. And some of the people that I really respect in the industry have never won an award. So there's a handful of names. I'll say the names. Zach Ali, I think he's one of the best aesthetic practitioners.
Oh, he's like a GOAT, isn't he?
OG. Yeah. One of the best aesthetic practitioners that you've ever, that I've ever come across.
Dermamed, right?
Dermamed OG, sold the company, does his own thing now. But from a artistic injector point of view, he's one of the best in the industry. Amrit Tiara, he's someone that I spent a lot of time with. He's got his Tiara clinics. He used to be the old CEO of Derma Medical. Also a very good artistic injector. They're just 2 that come off the top of my head, but there's probably like 5 or 6 that I can name that are world-class injectors that have never won an award. Now I have candid conversations with them, and I say to them, not specifically those 2 people, but I have conversations with other aesthetic practitioners that are excellent, that have never won an award. And this is early on in my career. And they would essentially allude to the idea that these awards, indirectly or directly, you are paying for them. Whether it's through sponsorship, whether it's through paying a VIP ticket at one of their awards, getting a VIP table, which is 10 times the cost of a normal table. There's conversations that happen behind the scenes. And these are some of the big aesthetic award companies as well. Some of the main ones that everyone goes to. Yeah. And it was a bit of a it's almost like a sad moment for me when I found out, because it's like, and I'm not saying this, but there was a thought process that went in my head, which is, everyone who's got an award just paid for it. Is that where we're at?
So I'd actually, give you a slightly different perspective, and it's deeper than just the aesthetics industry. A major music label owns one of the major music awards. That's a ceremony every single year.
Okay.
The label sponsored our own artists to go to the music award, so it's free PR where they're giving their own artists awards of the music event. Right? Can't remember what it was. It was either the Brit Awards or maybe it was the Mobos, but it's owned by the record company that have all of the artists that are at the award.
Crazy.
The game's the game.
Yeah.
And it's not until you start to really understand how business works and you really get a good understanding as to how, on a deeper level, governments work. That's how I think about it. If it's so manipulated on a business level with how you win awards and it's all to do with money, then you can link that to politicians and how politicians get so corrupted by big business, because the big businesses who are funding the politicians to put things in our favour actually, on a micro level, is the same as award companies who give awards to the sponsors of the companies.
100%.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a crazy thing to fathom.
Crazy. Yeah, I didn't even think of it from a government point of view, but you're right. Big companies lobby politicians all the time to not do the right thing, but to do the right thing for them. Right, financially it's beneficial for them.
Correct.
So even if you look at the aesthetic industry, it's still not regulated. I know they're talking about it, but why do you think it's not regulated? And I think one of the main reasons is pharmaceutical companies don't care who's buying their product, as long as someone's buying, whether it's a non-medic or a medic, it doesn't matter, right? As long as someone's buying. So I believe there's probably some lobbying going on in the background saying, look, that regulation thing in aesthetics, push it out for the future. And yeah, it's sad, right? You know, when I first found out, I would have loved to achieve an award based on my skill set, based on, you know, the work that I've put in. And I tell you the one that really hit me, I'm not going to name any names, but I work for a training company called Derma Medical, right?
Yeah.
I think it is one of the best training academies, not just in the UK. I think internationally it's one of the best training companies. Now, a few years ago, it was head and shoulders above every other training company in the UK. Now, there's a lot of other training companies that are really good as well. You know, there's some really good training companies out there besides from Derma Medical. But a few years ago, Derma Medical had everyone on lock. There was no other training academy that was worth even talking about, going back 3 to 5 years. And this is when Amrit Tiara was the CEO. And, you know, there was a few conversations with big aesthetic award companies essentially saying, if you give us X amount, you will win all the awards that you're nominated for. And, you know, good on Amrit Tiara, he basically said, no, we're not gonna buy these awards. You know, we're not gonna stoop that low.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. So quite a, you know, an ethical move to make. And I think to this day, Derma Medical has not won an aesthetic award because they probably don't want to go ahead and pay for it. And that year, there was a person that won the best training academy in the UK, and he hadn't even delivered one training session.
Get out of here. Really?
So he set up a training company.
Yeah.
His first training was to be given, you know, in a few months, and he had won the best training academy in the UK. That was like a
huge eye opener.
Like, oh my God, this is insane. And I always knew about it. Like, I always had an idea that this was going on. But at that point, it was like, oh, okay, like this is fully corrupt, not even a little bit corrupt.
Well, I would even go as far to say is that was such a ridiculously unintelligent move from the sponsor company, because anybody who would look into that and put two and two together, your whole sponsorship, your whole awards lost credibility.
Yeah.
That's insane. I won't say any names, but I've been approached by a company recently who guaranteed for me to win an award at a global event. I won't say what country, it's not in the UK.
Okay.
Huge event.
Okay.
Guaranteed to win an award if I sponsored a platinum package.
Yeah.
£20,000. And I just thought it kind of defeats the object of having an award.
Yeah.
But you know, is buying an award beneficial for the brand? Yeah, I'd actually probably say it is from a marketing perspective, you know, ethics aside. I'm not saying I'm for it, I'm not saying I'm against it. But when you're building a brand, if, you know, there's some really credible awards that are on your website, it's the same with PR articles. If you've been featured in Vogue, Financial Times, Men's Health, Women's Health magazines, okay, so to people who are in the industry, like, I know you've paid for it, but it looks great.
Yeah.
It looks great on the brand. So I see the benefit to it.
Yeah.
So
Like,
I wouldn't say I'm too, like, opinionated on it.
Yeah.
Because I understand, like, the game is the game. I've said that a few times now, and you have to play it. But when you just understand how business works on a wider level, you get to really open up your mind to understand why it's, like I said earlier, why countries and corporations and governments also become so corrupted. And it all comes down to money. It all comes down to greed. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
I think the question that you're indirectly asking is, like, does a practitioner need to have an award? Like, is it an essential thing, right?
Yeah.
You've done bloody good for yourself, and you've never won an award, right? Not from my understanding, right?
No, I haven't.
For an award, have you?
No, I wanted one. I did want one. I was thinking about it.
An award, yeah. I hear it. It's a good choice, man. Good choice.
20 grand's a lot of money.
20 grand's a lot of money, right? So, you know, is it essential? I would say no, it's definitely not essential.
Yeah.
And look, you know, each to their own. If you want to pay, you know, £500 to be featured in Vogue or to be featured in Forbes, good on you. But it goes back to what you were saying earlier. If you've got holes in your ship, it doesn't matter how many awards you have. It doesn't matter how many Instagram followers you have. The service and the product has to be excellent. I'll just give you one more analogy. It's not even an analogy, it's a story. There was a guy in Crawley. He owns a kebab shop. It's called Kismet Kebab. Have you heard of it?
Kismet
Kebab.
Is it good?
12 out of 10.
Better than Red Hill Kebab?
Better than Red Hill Kebab.
That's a big statement,
big
you know.
statement. Red Hill Kebab's good, right?
Oh, okay, I'm gonna have to try it.
People from Red Hill Kebab are going to get offended. And Kismet Kebab is 12 out of 10. And he's been around for years. His shop front was no bigger than this sofa. There was nowhere to sit. It was a shop front like this, okay? And there was nowhere to sit. You walk in, you order kebab, you leave, right? And because the product was excellent, he was always busy. People would go there, they'd buy kebab, they would leave, they'd buy kebab, and he was always busy. And then only recently, maybe in the last like 3 or 4 years, he bought the shop next door, and now he's made a restaurant. And that all came from his product being excellent. So when you look at people that buy awards, or, you know, maybe directly or indirectly buy awards or pay for features, fine. The game is the game, right? But if your product is not good, it doesn't matter. You're not going to retain your patients. People are going to actually slag you off afterwards. If you give someone a bad service because they've been conned into thinking that you're good based on your award or based on your Instagram following, you're not going to, you're not going to retain those patients. And if anything, they're going to start slagging you off. And it's actually going to mean negative press, which is not, it's unacceptable in aesthetics. So I don't think it's, and I think it's all part of the same spectrum, right? It's like, how deceiving do you want to be? Do you want to, fake your reviews? Do you want to pay for an award? Do you want to buy your Instagram followers? It's like, how deceiving do you want to be, right? Do you want to Photoshop your before and afters? It's like, where are you on the spectrum, right? And look, there's some people that, they might buy Instagram followers. Loads of people buy Instagram followers because they want to look as if they're successful. And you see people that they start on, 5,000 followers, and then within 2 months,
100K.
Yeah, 100K followers. And it's like, you've posted about 6 times in the last 2 months.
Yeah.
How are you on 100K? But it's crazy. There's this. I won't name him. Don't want to embarrass him. But there's a person who's got 1 million followers. You know who I'm talking about, I think.
There's a couple. What, aesthetics industry specifically?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, mediocre work. He's got 1 million followers. I won't say his name. The industry is so wild because he now goes round teaching he speaks at conferences how to build a social media following. And everyone in the industry knows he bought his followers because within about 2 weeks, he went from 5,000 to 1 million.
Yeah.
Who the hell goes from 5,000 to 1 million? No one, right?
I would love to know what his pitch deck says on stage on how to grow a brand.
Probably generic shit, right?
You made a really good point, and I'm so for this. And the more I've learned about business, the more I so agree that the only way to actually win in business is to be so fucking good at what you do that you'll be fine without ads. You'll be fine without aggressively trying to scale a new business. Your product sells itself. I believe whatever business you're in, whether it's selling kebabs, aesthetics or marketing or a barber shop, you just got to be the best, man.
100%.
The market's too saturated to accept anything less. And in the UK and in where we live specifically in and around London, it really is survival of the fittest. So Haroon, where can people find you on socials so they can follow the journey?
So I'm on Instagram. I spend most of my time on Instagram. Most of my content is on Instagram as well. So it's Dr. Haroon Ashraf. My website is mindfulaesthetics.co. Yeah.